Welcome to Reddit Aliens. Paranormal or not, what strange experience or glitch in the Matrix happened to you as a child that no one believes? Serious. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. After my dad passed away, I remember being in a dream where I woke up in the dream hearing the sound of his voice from downstairs. I jumped out of bed and looked out my window and saw a dark figure in our garden, and then I heard my dad's voice again, which woke me up for real. Ran downstairs and saw that the back door was left unlocked and opened by my mom, who had fallen asleep on the sofa downstairs. I locked it and went back to bed. Found out the next day that a few of the houses on the street had been robbed that night. Nobody ever believes that it really happened, or they think I had the dream later and just got confused on the order of events, but it 100% happened, and it's the craziest thing that's ever happened to me. I'm really skeptical of the paranormal, don't believe in ghosts or anything, but I cannot make sense of that dream. I fell out of bed in the middle of the night. I stood up and suddenly I was in the kitchen of the house we'd lived in 1 year prior. I remember looking out the window to confirm. As I looked around, the house was full of items I didn't recognize, different furniture and different pictures on the walls. I walked down the hallway in the dark and opened the door to my old room. It was my current room and I went inside, shut the door, and went back to bed. I immediately got back up and opened the door to check, and everything was back to normal. I swear I flew once. Obviously this couldn't have really happened, but I remember so vividly jumping off the top of our stairs and just flying slowly down and around our living room. I remember my mom changing my brother's diaper and trying to get her to look because I couldn't believe what was happening, but she was focusing on cleaning him up. I'm 25 now, and this happened when I was probably 3 to 4 years old. Growing up, maybe 8 to 10, me and my cousin and brother were playing to see who dug the deepest hole. It was around 5 p.m. I'm from Central America on the Caribbean, and it starts to get dark around that time. I was digging and could almost fit my little arm almost at the elbow by then. I was a bit far from my cousins to their left. When I was elbow deep and was pulling dirt out, I was suddenly shocked because I could see a smoky white hand following me as I was pulling my arm out of the hole, as if it was to grab me. It was something smoky, not with texture or a full form, but at the same time, I was surprised and turned to call my cousins and brother. It disappeared. Until this day, I'm 42, I cannot explain and relive it like it was yesterday. I had an imaginary friend, Sam, when I was little, like all kids are. I thought he was real, and I could see him. Time passed and I stopped seeing Sam. I was 10 now, and I was pretty close-minded, so the thought of anomalies such as ghosts never crossed my mind. So it was 8 p.m., and I was sitting in the living room watching TV when I hear this voice of like a 5-year-old asking me to come and play. I was freaked, but also didn't know where the sound was coming from. I have this feeling to look over at the kitchen table from the couch, and I saw this kid staring at me. And when I tried to get up, it was like time froze. Then it unfroze, and he was gone. The freaky thing was that it looked like my imaginary friend Sam. It was really strange, and I can't explain it. It wasn't a dream because after it happened, I got up and told my mom. I was about 7ish, small village, Ireland, in the 90s, and just stopped pottering about a field near my house. Next thing I know, it's raining wooden ice lolly sticks. Lasted a few seconds, and I was finding them for days all over the town afterwards. Nobody else seemed to have witnessed the actual rain, but I collected hundreds of them in a couple of days. Still remember it vividly, and my parents remember my obsession with ice lolly sticks that lasted about a week. I had a wicker basket in my room for my dirty clothes. I am positive to this day, 25 male, that the basket's lid levitated once. I have a vivid memory of it and how freaked out I was, screaming and crying. It's impossible. I know it's impossible, but I can't explain what my 5-year-old self saw. I think I was in 7th grade at the time, and it was around 3:30 or 4 p.m. in the afternoon. I was watching the post-school cartoon lineup with Rescue Rangers and DuckTales and all that stuff. My mom is nowhere to be seen because she'd just F off to I don't know where after my dad died, and I was left to my own devices with dinner. Usually I made microwave popcorn. That was what I got up to do this time. My room and the kitchen are both down at the end of a really long hallway that at the middle point connects to an alcove that had the front door. I'm crossing the hallway from my bedroom to the kitchen and realize there's a figure standing in the hallway exactly halfway down. as though it had just come in through the front door. I stop and look at it, and it's there looking at me. Now, this thing didn't have any details to it in a way that ghosts do in the movies. It was a dark blue opaque shape, the size of a full-grown man. You could make out a head and limbs, but not hair or eyes, mouth, or anything like that. I wasn't scared of it in the slightest. I just stood there and stared at it for a prolonged time because it was the effing middle of the afternoon and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Eventually, I start to think this is a bit weird. Why is this thing in my house and why is it just staring at me? So in my head, I think the words "go away" at it. I've never had a thought that felt like that one before. It was like I had said it out loud. It had weight behind it. The figure immediately turned and ran out of sight into the front door alcove. I ran down the hallway to the alcove too and found it empty. I spent several minutes standing there questioning my own senses and whether that had really happened and what was that thing, or was I going crazy? Then I went back down the hallway and made my popcorn.
So this person hears a noise, possibly sees a paranormal entity or a shadow person, goes and investigates, sees nothing, and then just decides to go back to making popcorn. I guess he has his priorities in order.
Grew up outside the city, so I took a bus to school. I was always alone at that stop, and only one traffic light right above it. One day, there was someone at the stop walking back and forth waiting, but the closer I came, the less of the figure I saw, until it was gone. It was 2 a.m. on a summer night a few years ago, and I went out of my room with the intention of getting something to eat from the kitchen. But when I came downstairs into the living room, there was some things that I could only describe as energy pillars. Pillars of air that were slightly white like condensation, but looked like Fata Morgana, the hot air coming from the street. I accidentally passed through one and it looked like an angry woman behind me, looking at the back of my head. That was the thing that definitely scared the shit out of me, and so I grabbed something to eat and ran into my room. That experience never happened again, and I just can't explain what I saw. My house had this really long hallway. My bedroom was at one end of the hallway, and the bathroom was right next to my room, but at the other end of the room downstairs. One time, at exactly 3 a.m., because I remember checking my phone, I needed to piss. So I walk out of my room into the hallway to go to the bathroom. I look the other end of the hallway. I see a figure 100% real. I can hear it, looking straight at me with glowing eyes. I stayed in the bathroom all night with the lights on, not sleeping till 7 a.m. Okay, I can only remember the bare details, so sorry if you can't understand. In the hallway to my bedroom, there are 2 rooms. To the right, it's my room, and to the left, it's my older sister's room, and in between the 2 rooms, there's this little nook of space that I can't see from my room. So anyway, I was watching YouTube on my Nintendo Switch at night with my door opened and just the nightlight on, and in the corner of my eye, I see a dark figure hunched over, so no big deal. It's probably my sister trying to scare me. So I look and nothing's there. I call out to her, "I know you're trying to scare me, just come out." No answer. So I crawl down to the foot of my bed and look in the corner and nothing's there. When my stepbrother and I were younger, we were outside lighting off those little flash things that are shaped like cherries but just flash brightly and throwing pop rocks. Maybe about 11 or 12 years old and not too far from the house, but in the middle of the sticks, we saw the entire sky light up the most peculiar color of pink I've ever seen in nature, but not as lightning does, but in pitch dark, the entire world lit up this weird color of pink for like 3 solid seconds, and we could see everything but not where it was coming from, nor heard anything. I remember a feeling of amazement, followed by terror. Then I can't remember what we did, though I think we ran back to the house. We kinda just forgot about it, and years later I mentioned it like 5+, and he instantly knew what I was talking about, and we've brought it up many more times over the years, just how strange it was. To this day, I can't rationalize what it may have been by the memory of what's burned in my mind, nor can he, but who knows, lol. Kids are dumb.
Could it have possibly been heat lightning? Or maybe it was a holiday while you were lighting fireworks. Could have been from miles away on the 4th of July or something? Thoughts?
When I was maybe 7 or 8, my class went to this old prison building on a field trip. I went inside of one of the cells, and I swear to effing God, I felt something put its hand on my face and pull me backwards. Shortly after, I also felt like I was suffocating, and I had to step away from the particular part of the building because I couldn't breathe. Nobody believed me. 2 recently. 1. I was driving home from work through some brief unplanted farmland, winter and all that, and saw about 3 to 4 foot stick about 15 feet off the ground. Now, I could see it at a good distance away, but assumed some farmer's kid got it stuck in some sort of wire or something that I couldn't see from a distance. Well, as I approached it, I could see that it was beginning to spin on the air exceedingly fast, only it wasn't connected to or stuck on anything. Just a stick branch spinning on the air, glitching the F out. 2. A few months ago, my wife and I were doing laundry and getting our daughter to bed. As I walk up the stairs and glance into the master bedroom, I see something peek from around the stationary wooden French door. By something, I mean something. It was about 3 feet tall and had dog cat ears and was covered in brown and white fur. The thing and I made eye contact for a split second when it ducked behind the door as I jumped up the steps 3 at a time. When I got to the master bedroom, nothing was there, naturally. I have depression and anxiety to hell and back, to be fair, but no history of anything that would cause hallucinations like this. My old house had creaky floorboards, and over time you could tell who was walking around just based on the sound or pace of the creaks and the noise of that person's slippers hitting the ground. Stay with me, lol. I also always slept with my slippers right next to my bed, taking them off as I got in. One night, after everyone had already gone to sleep, I heard someone walking around at 2 a.m. or so. The noise was weird, definitely didn't sound like anyone in my family. The steps started walking towards my room, and I realized I'd left my door open. Me being the scared kid I was, I hid under the covers, hoping I was imagining it. I heard the footsteps come to my room and stop at the foot of my bed. I distinctly remember the feeling of the corner of my bed shifting down, as if someone had just taken a seat. It was right near my feet, so I could feel something. I closed my eyes so tight, and a few minutes later, the bed shifted up again, and the footsteps walked away. I remember feeling so scared that I prayed and ended up falling asleep. When I woke up the next day, my door was still open, but when I got out to put my slippers on, they had moved closer to the door and were sitting perfectly together. To this day, I can't explain it, but there's a reason why I hate horror movies.
Isn't it interesting that as children we think if we just cover our faces with a blanket that everything will be okay, or we're at least protected? Interesting. Wonder if adults still do that.
We have what we call the void in our house. Things just go missing, and I can't find them anywhere. Usually silly things. I had a cup I bought for my kids that went missing years ago. I've torn apart the cabinets to repaint and redo the kitchen, and the cup is straight up gone. I never took it anywhere and never really used it since it was too big for my kids at the time. A baby bottle went missing a few years ago too. I just fed the baby before a nap and the bottle fell on the floor. I couldn't find it, but I went to pick up the bottle to wash it. I was worried about it getting all stinky with residue in it since I couldn't find it right away. I tore my room apart looking for it, but I never did find it. I was short one bottle until the baby was done with bottles. My kid dropped a Lego dinosaur egg in the kitchen a few months ago and it vanished. I watched it bounce and kind of saw where it went, but I couldn't find it. We even tore kitchen floor out to redo them recently, and the Lego egg didn't turn up after moving all the appliances. It's just so weird and super annoying. I hate losing things. Edit. Oh yes. I remember that when my oldest daughter was 2, she would tell me that she saw scaries living on the ceiling. It was a family of scaries. She asked me why one had a knife once. That was spooky. We went on vacation that summer, and she never said she saw them again. This may be long or hard to understand. I'm bad at explaining, I'm sorry. I was putting clothes up one day after laundry, and I was on the last shirt with 2 hangers left on the bed along with the shirt, and I of course used one hanger to put the shirt up, and I turned back to put the remaining hanger up, and when I did and turned around again, the same hanger was back. The same dark blue color, same plastic material, same placement and everything. I thought, okay, maybe it was just right on top of each other and I didn't notice. So I put it back for the second time, turned around again, and the same thing happened. This happened 2 more times until it finally stopped. Super weird shit. I still don't know what happened with that man. So I wasn't a child, but I do have a glitch story. I warn you, it isn't scary. In fact, it's so stupid, I don't think I could make it up if I tried. A few years back, I wanted to do a taco night. I have this big frying pan I used to make homemade tortillas. I get my ingredients and then go into my cupboard for the pan. It isn't there. I call to my wife, asking her if she'd moved it. She didn't. Perplexed, I rummaged through my kitchen and nothing. Nothing else in the house is missing. We have a security system, cameras, and a dog who barks anytime anyone is at the door, and many times when no one is at the door. No one has been in our house but us, but the pan is just gone. We actually searched the whole house. The situation so stupidly strange. Taco night was canceled. About 2 weeks go by. Nothing out of the ordinary occurs. I open up the cupboard to get a saucepan, and there's the effing frying pan. It's right where it's supposed to be, in a place where the two of us checked on multiple occasions that first night. The pan blinked out of existence, and then 2 weeks, or at least something like 2 weeks, it blinked right back in. It's such a dumb story, but it happened. I don't know where it went or why, but it decided to stick around since.